Okay, Ben here again, fresh off, literally, of trying to replay Final Fantasy VII Remake for some cleanup trophies. And I don't know what I'm going to say in the title yet, but probably something to the effect that FF7 Remake sucks. And I'm going to give you why. Because literally all they had to do was take the graphics of Advent Children and use everything else in the old game. That's all they had to do. Instead, Remake is what we got, and I'm not saying it's a bad game, but if that's what we got for waiting so many years for a remake of the original game, they just shouldn't have bothered. And we're going to start off with the biggest problem, which is the pacing. And the notes here say it's extra expletive. So let's go to the pictures. Okay. So Destruction of Mako Reactor 1, that's the first chapter. There's going to be spoilers in case you hadn't figured that out. That was alright. It seemed a little long and in my mind. But it was alright. Fateful Encounters Chapter 2, that could have been streamlined a bit. That was just a little bit of running through the city, a little bit long, a little unnecessary compared to the original game. Home Sweet Slum, that was alright. If you do the extra side quests they added, then it does get to be a little bit longer, especially in the first part of the game. And it's a little bit difficult, but we'll talk about that a bit later in the combat, I think. Then we get to Chapter 4, Mad Dash, which is one of the biggest problems. It's completely extra fluff. We didn't need another bike adventure. We didn't need a segment with Jesse and whatever the hell that boss dude was on the bike and in the fight. It was just unnecessary crap, and that's basically what this game is, because they took something that was 6 hours at most in the original game and they made it into an entire 40 to 45 hour game, unless you play it on hard mode, and then it's up to 80 hours. So completely unnecessary. I think they could have gotten away with making the first disc and having that be the whole adventure. And I don't think anybody would have complained too much with that. Chapter 5, Dogged Pursuit. Jeez, I don't even remember some of this stuff. I think that was... Okay, that's the train one. And they're running around. It's a little... I mean, the first one actually made sense. You fight your way through the train, and however far you get on the train is where you get off in the subway tunnel, and then that's the distance to the next goal. But, I mean, this seemed like you couldn't go very far, and they forced you to do the entire segment, which was very long, so that could have been streamlined. Light the Way, that's right. So you go through, you're just under the plate and the lights are off, and you got to turn on the generators to turn the lights on or something like that. Again, completely unnecessary. I don't remember any of that on the way to the 5th reactor in the original game. A trap is sprung. Okay, so that's the reactor fight. That was alright. Again, they fleshed it out. No real complaints there. Budding Bodyguard. Again, you're running on the rooftops. And this is again part of the problem with the pacing, because the game forces you into walking or slow movement sections when it's really unnecessary. And reading online, I think some people were saying that's because of loading times, because they sort of load the whole area, or they try to load the whole area at once, but it's too big. So as you're going through like the crouching sections, ducking under crap, that's when they're loading the next area. And if that's the case, then it's really slowing down the game and really annoying. Not that way. Then we move on to Chapter 9, the Town That Never Sleeps. Sorry, Chapter 8, you could also do some side quests, which in Chapters 3 and 8 and 9. That's what determines the dresses you get. So, which you're forced to replay if you want all 9 dresses. And it doesn't even tell you what dresses you have or don't have. You just have to see it in the cutscene and remember. Very annoying. So chapter 9, the town that never sleeps. First you go through the expressway with Eris, and then you go into Wall Market, and you go through all sorts of crappy side quests and stuff. It's alright, but again, way too long. The original game was much more streamlined. Rough Waters, that's the sewer segment. I guess that was, well, still, that was a little bit longer as well. A little bit annoying, especially with the dudes that turn you into a frog. And there's no real way to grind at this point. So you're basically stuck, what I think is underleveled in a JRPG. And as you know, you never want to be underleveled in a JRPG. You always want to be overleveled. And that's just not good. Chapter 11, Haunted. They really drug out the train graveyard section. I mean, they added so much there that was unnecessary. Very annoying. Fight for Survival, Chapter 12. Okay, that's when they're going up the pillar trying to stop them from bringing down the plate. That was alright. Broken World, Chapter 13. That was a little bit of extra crap they didn't need. So you go back in, you rescue some people, that's fine. Then you go underground and you find the Shinra lab and all this extra nonsense that wasn't really in the original game. So, very annoying. That could have been streamlined. Chapter 14, In Search of Hope. Okay, so again, there's mostly just side quests and you gotta find a way over the wall to get up there to the Shinra building. And I don't remember that being much of a thing at all in the original game. Just extra unnecessary stuff that they didn't need. Chapter 15 though, the day Midgar stood still, when you're actually climbing the pillars. As I mentioned on stream, this was probably the one and only chapter that did it better than the original game. So props to that. Chapter 16, Belly of the Beast. I'm sort of confusing where this transition is to Deliverance from Chaos, because you go to Shinra Building and Shinra Building is alright. Well, the museum is the extra stuff we didn't need again. And somewhere either after the meeting or after the first Hojo segment it changes chapters. And Deliverance from Chaos. Again, all of these are a little bit longer than they need to be, and again, much more streamlined in the original release. And finally, Destiny's Crossroads, which, as we know, I probably streamed a black screen for about 2 hours, and I was so hyped fighting that boss on the bike, and then stuff happened, and there were more bosses to fight, and Sephiroth. And it's like, what the hell is this? None of this was in the original game. You're just wasting my time. And that's my biggest problem with Square-Enix right now, is disrespecting me as a gamer and wasting my time. I don't have time to sit through bad pacing in a game because you added extra content that doesn't need to be there. I don't need to sit through slow, forced walking sequences, or as I call the typical Square-Enix cutscene tango. Step, step, cutscene, step, step, cutscene, step, step, fight, step, step, cutscene. It's just too much. Like, either make an entire movie of cutscenes, or make a game with cutscenes at certain points that help the story along. Something like a God of War, Ragnarok. You know, something that doesn't take you out of the game every 5 seconds. Yeah, and again, they stretched 6 hours of content into an entire 40-hour game. WTF. Okay, so that's the first problem. Pacing sucks. Second problem is the combat. And yeah, there's lots of excuses for it online. First of all, the AI partners are absolute garbage. And the defense is, oh, they want you to switch characters so that, you know, that's not a problem. but the way you build up ATB is basically by button mashing square. I guess triangle could work too for the harder attacks if you hold it or something. I don't know. But so yeah, basically I'm just mashing square with Cloud, and they always target the active party member. So if you want Cloud to build up his ATB bar, you got to be frontline and getting beat on all the time. If you want Barrett to build up his ATB bar, you're back and shooting, and he's pretty good once you get maximum fury. But yeah, the AI is absolute garbage. If you're waiting for them to build up a meter on their own, you're probably gonna die. Yeah, it's mostly just button mashing to charge ATB. You can block and do the counterattack with the Punisher mode, but it's really not that complex. Spells. Once you do get an ATB, you need ATB to use an item, so that's just a complete waste of thing. And if you use an ATB on a spell, like Curaga or something, which means you're really in trouble, you're just casting and casting and casting, and I'm waiting for it to cast, and I'm waiting for it to cast, and most of the time, when you're waiting for a move like that, you're going to get interrupted by the enemies, instead of just casting at like a proper speed, hopefully instantly. But yeah, so spells are interrupted, attacks are interrupted, the combat sucks. Yeah, so many GD interrupts. And one more thing, I mean, most bosses are just damage sponges. Their hit points are way too high, so you just beat on them and beat on them and beat on them. You use the skill, you use the spell, you beat on them, beat on them, beat on them. You get hit, you cure, you beat on them, beat on them. It takes forever to beat. It's not fun to play. That's the problem. It's just, combat is not fun. And like, there's gonna be people telling me to get good, and it's like, no, because I know how the original game worked, and I know how the new game worked, and the way the new game works is they want to hold on to the stuff that worked in the first game, but they want this action game for modern audiences, and the problem is they don't do either of them particularly well. Like, if you just stuck to turn-based, it would have been fine. If you sped up the action, made it a bit easier to use the skills and abilities that you want to be using, that might be fine, and with fewer interrupts. But Square-Enix tries to have both, and again, they just don't do either well. And the game, combat in the game is a mess because of it. Finally, the other section, because I don't want to crap on the game too much. I mean, we knew it was going to look beautiful. Any idiot can see that. Wow, this game is amazing looking. But looks aren't everything. You need gameplay and the story. They changed the story. So others, they changed the story. Not only did they add extra fluff, they added too much extra fluff, like the spirits running around. Who needs that? 2, Eris is just annoying. So the first time I didn't notice it. Everything was new. I'm playing. I'm like, okay, it's good. It's very faithful to the original as far as most of the story goes, minus what I just said. Then I replayed chapters 3, 8, and 9 for the second set of dresses. And today I just finished chapter 8. And it's like, wow, she's so annoying and like overly cheerful. And I just wanted to skip everything. And you can't skip everything. Hence more pacing issues. But, and also, if you want to get the platinum, they expect you to play on hard mode. And the game is already hard enough to begin with until you start getting over leveled and go back to play the earlier chapters. And it's like, wow, it's kind of fun, but it still has the problems that I mentioned, apart from being a little bit easier now. But yeah, they expect you to play hard mode without using items and with limited magic points. So where's the fun in that? I'll try hard mode, but I don't expect to actually finish the game, and thus will be the first Final Fantasy I've played that I don't finish to 100% completion, because screw that. Okay, so those are my thoughts on why Final Fantasy VII is still the superior version of the game despite the graphics, and why Remake is the inferior version of the game. Well, it's not even the complete game. It's just Midgar for 40 hours. But yeah, could have done much better, Square-Enix. I can't, that's the thing, I can't say I'm better for having played it. I can't say that I'm not better for having played it, so I'm just sort of in the middle. I played the game, you know, I can check it off the list, but sometimes I had fun, sometimes I didn't. I just thought they could have done a much better job with the remake than they did. And I currently have no plans to get Rebirth, I think they're calling the second one. But because if they're just going to do the same crap they did with the first remake, then I don't even want to bother. And plus, I'm expecting for the PS6 or PS7 or whatever, a complete trilogy set to be released anyway. So there is that. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Remake. Let me know in the comments if you like the game, why or why not, what would you change, what would you keep, what would you bring back from the original game. And until next time, thanks for watching. Have a good one.